So our first speaker is Paul Mullen. He is founder of Measurability. Having experienced careers from every angle as an employer, a job seeker, a recruiter, a HR consultant and a coach, Paul is widely recognised as one of Ireland's most rounded career experts. He is the top reviewed Irish career coach on Trustpilot. He has served as the career doctor with the Irish Independent and the Sunday Times, and he regularly appears as a career expert in national media. Today, Paul will share LinkedIn Simple Actions Super Results. He's going to provide practical strategies to create an impactful LinkedIn profile, attract more views, and combine an online and real-world networking for maximum results. So, Paul, thank you so much for joining us today, and I now hand over to you.
Thanks a million, and thanks for the wonderful introduction. Couldn't have done it better myself. So you're all very welcome here today. I'm here to talk about LinkedIn and the title Simple Actions, Simple Results. I probably started early with LinkedIn when it first was launched and introduced. I don't do anything fancy with it, but a lot of what I do works. And, you know, these are some of the sort of like key points I want to share with you all today. A big mantra that I sort of educate people about is visibility equals opportunity. So we've a good sort of like gathering here today, and different people sort of use LinkedIn for different goals. A lot of who I work for are job seekers. So there may be some here today who are thinking about career opportunities, but these opportunities can be anything. You know, if you have a small business, opportunities to grow that business, collaborations, funding, even to learn and engage with like-minded people to learn and grow through all that engagement. But the more visible you are, the more you will help these opportunities find you. Now, networking is a critical tool to increase your visibility. Now, networking can be real world. It can also be online. Now, the two are intertwined. But today, obviously, a lot of my focus will be on the online networking piece. Now, with LinkedIn, before LinkedIn, I was talking to people about networking in the real world, and you know, getting people to network, I mean, for me was a challenge. There's a lot of sort of like obstacles to stop people networking. For example, the fear element, the hassle element, all of these sort of great things. But so one of the true benefits of LinkedIn is that it made networking easier and more accessible. Okay, now there still is work to be done here, and there's an Irish saying, if work was in bed, we'd all sleep on the floor. Okay, so we are all lazy by sort of, you know, like by nature. Okay, so you know, I'm going to teach you some ideas today, but you have to do the press ups. Okay, so there is work to be done, but by using a tool like LinkedIn, it does make it easier. As I said to you, less hassle. Once upon a time, you had to get up, go to an event. Now you can go online on LinkedIn. You can network 24/7. It also removes the fear. And you know, like that, you know, approaching somebody in an event. You know, that awkward moment. But a big thing I say about networking is, you know, I'm like, when I'm talking to people about networking, and I mentioned this later on, I talk about starting with and focus on your warm leads, the people that you know, because they're truly the people that are probably going to help you. And there's less fear talking to people that you know as well too. Now, obviously, we do need to grow our networks, okay? And again, I'll talk a little bit about that later on as well too. Now, aside from the visibility, like there are huge benefits from LinkedIn as well too. I mean, essentially, it is a job site as well too. So there are jobs. So anyone here today looking, you know, their goal is looking for opportunities. There physically are jobs advertised on LinkedIn. Network calculator. I'll just come back to that because I'm going to share a screen in a minute. SOR, stay on the radar. Like people think networking is engaging, letting somebody know their need or their goal, and then sit back and wait for it to happen. But people forget about you. In fact, if you spoke to someone this morning, about something, they've probably forgotten about you by the afternoon. So the beauty of something like LinkedIn, if you're active, and I'll talk about activity shortly, if you're active, you know, your face keeps popping up on people's profiles, so you're passively popping up in their mind. And when they sort of see your profile or see a comment or see something, that brings you back into their mind, okay? Because the opportunity you're looking for might not be with that person today, but it could be in a week or 2 weeks' time, okay? So it's a passive way to stay in people's mind, which is a great benefit. The other thing as well, too, is it's a little black book. So through, you know, we're at different stages of our careers. We've met wonderful people. We've lost touch. You know, where are they now? Okay, so even if you use LinkedIn as a little black book where everyone you meet, everyone you engage with, everyone you work with at a conference, at an event, at a training, that you connect with them on LinkedIn, and then we never lose these people again. Okay, so that's another. Now, just to go back to this network calculator, one of the big benefits of LinkedIn is it calculates our network. So if I said to you now, ask you a question, do you know anybody working in Intel? Okay, most people will go, oh, I don't know, maybe I do. But what LinkedIn does, it calculates your network. So it will show you who you know, or probably more likely, who your second connections. Okay, now, I'll ask the question, if you were looking at collaboration, if you were looking to reach out to somebody, if you've seen a job advertised with a company and you wanted to approach that company, is it easier to do it as a cold call, or is it easier to do it as a warm call, okay, through somebody that you know? The latter, okay, it's easier to do it through somebody that you know. So let me just stop sharing 1 second, bring you on to LinkedIn. Okay, now, so simple little thing I'm going to show you. So in the search bar here, I'm going to click in LinkedIn. Hit search. I'm just assuming everyone can see my screen, yeah?
Yeah, all good, Paul. Thank you.
Brilliant, brilliant. So I've searched LinkedIn. I'm going to search for people. Okay, now, this lady here, I do not know her. She's a second connection, but I do know Peter, Anna. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out to Peter and say, what's the story with Rachel? He will say, oh my God, very good friend. I'm meeting her next week. I'd love to chat with her. Could you put me in touch? Now, is Rachel more likely to engage and talk with me? Absolutely 100%. Now, if that doesn't work out, I can move down. Okay, so in what we'll quickly find is if you grow your network, it expands your tentacles. Okay, it expands your reach. Okay, so that is it's a huge benefit of LinkedIn that people don't realize or are underutilized. So what it actually means is you really never have to make a cold call again. If you have a good, strong, and I'll talk later on about quality over quantity when it comes to your connections, but if you have a good, strong sort of like quality network, it will expand your tentacles. So I use the formula sometimes, you know, 100 people, okay, conservatively, who all know 100 people conservatively. That's 10,000 people who, that's one person away. Okay, so that is a really, really warm network. And any opportunities, if you're looking for jobs, if you're looking for sales leads, if you're looking for collaborations, if you're looking for funding, do not tell me that there is not opportunities within those 10,000 people. Okay, of course there are, 1000%. Okay, now I'll just move back to my slides. Stop sharing 1 second. Okay, now that's the why. Okay, so, you know, that is sort of some of the reasons why you should be using LinkedIn. Okay, so again, you will be more visible. It will open up more opportunities for you. Okay, you know, you know, and with these opportunities, again, whatever they are, whatever you're looking for, LinkedIn is a tool that can potentially help you access and get those. Now, let's move on to the how. Now, when it comes to LinkedIn, I like a number of years ago, a good number of years ago, I started to sort of educate people. Like, you've got to see LinkedIn as your own website. Okay, it's an online portal or profile. You've got a page, you've got a URL, okay, that showcases, okay, your about you, where you work, what you've done, collaborations, education, everything like that. So now, if I ask the question, why do most websites fail? Okay, there's normally two key reasons. Number one, somebody lands on it and it doesn't impress them, so they move on to the next website. So what I'm going to talk today is about how to optimize and maximize your LinkedIn profile to ensure that when somebody lands on it, they're impressed. Okay, but the more important reason why websites fail is people can't find them. Okay, so a lot of people, for example, I was doing a workshop yesterday and I said, give me a hands up, how many people use LinkedIn? Okay, everyone put their hand up, and I says, well, how many people have a profile? Everyone put their hand up, and I says, now how many people use LinkedIn? And they all took their hands down. So most people have a profile, but they're not doing anything. Okay, so if you are not active on LinkedIn, you essentially have a website on page 50 of the Google search. Okay, have you ever been on page 50 of a Google search? Don't admit it if you have. Okay, so nobody gets there. Okay, so you won't be found. So then what I'm going to talk to you now is about, well, what can I do to drive more people to my LinkedIn profile? And again, coined the phrase many moons ago, wrote an article, how to become the Pied Piper of LinkedIn. Okay, so where you're attracting more visitors and profile. Again, more people come to you, more potential opportunities. Okay, that's the formula. So if we first look at, okay, how to create an impactful LinkedIn profile. When I get okay, so underneath my name, okay, so creating a LinkedIn profile. Look, it's a given that, okay, professional headshot. You behind my sort of picture, you can get a background. Okay, so some people get very creative with that. Okay, you can use Canva to sort of like differentiate there. Now under my name, okay, this is your professional headline. Okay, now this quite often is the first thing that somebody sees. Okay, so apart from your picture, they'll see your name and they'll see your professional headline. So this is prime real estate in terms of marketing yourself. Okay, and what you put on here can lead to somebody clicking on your profile and coming into your profile. So that's quite important. Okay, now if you just scroll down a little bit, Rebecca, down to about. Okay, yeah. Now if you just open up my about, if you click more, now I probably have a little bit more information than most of you will have here. Now, when you're writing content on your LinkedIn, there's two key words that you should be thinking about. Okay, succinct and impactful. Okay, now succinct, like, you know, I joke about my kids when they were a little younger. Okay, when we were on live TV and the ads came on, they had a freak out because they didn't have the attention span to sort of like listen to the advertisements. Okay, so it's a little bit like that when we go online. People, it's seconds that people are going to be reading stuff. So in your About Us section, after your professional headline, this is probably the next most important section. Okay, now if you at the very least had 5 or 6 of the critical points about you, okay, what are the key sort of like most impressive things about you, about your experience, about what you've done, collaboration, so on and so forth, and you pick. You're not talking like I use a term zebra, okay, where most people's profiles look like everybody else. People have sort of like used fluffy words, you know, and quite often they've stolen their profile from somebody else and just jiggled the words around. So we're talking about specific, unique points about yourself. Now, you could have 5 or 6 one-liner bullet points up here. Again, very easy to read, very easy to digest. The one thing I will say is, having just a suite of bullet points can be a little bit cold. So what I often say is I put a little line at the start. Here's some key information about me. Okay, so and then it evolves into the bullet points. Again, if you just scroll down a little bit, Rebecca. So if you keep going down to the sort of the job and the work history. So again, in your job and work history section. Okay, just scroll down another little bit.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Here. Activity, that stuff.
Activities on down.
Experience. Yeah, this part.
Experience. Okay. So under your experience, again, you're using every opportunity to sell yourself here. You know, and again, under each of these roles, again, it's not, most people list on here responsibilities. Responsibilities and duties are boring. Okay, everyone has duties and responsibilities. So what are your biggest highlights? What are your biggest successes? What are your biggest achievements? Okay, because generally speaking, we want to put out a positive impression here. We want to excite somebody. We want to get people excited when they read. We want to keep them keep their attention, keep them on your profile as long as possible. Okay, and again, this is for any opportunity you want. If your goal is to be invited speakers at events and stuff like that, well, nobody's going to buy you if they're not impressed with your profile. If you're looking for collaborations, why would I collaborate with you if you don't excite me by your profile? If you're growing a business, why would I buy your business if I'm not excited by you and your profile? Similarly, if you're looking for jobs, why would I sort of like pick you if you don't excite me on your profile? Okay, now, okay, so can we click back to my slides now?
Yep, sure. Intro notes. Actually, there.
Perfect. Okay, now so there's some key points there in terms of how to make your LinkedIn more impactful. Okay, and really it boils down to if you're creating your profile, is it succinct? Is it impactful? Okay, so again, if you have generic words there that everyone's using, if you have generic statements, essentially duties, responsibilities, things like that, they're not going to excite people. In fact, all you're going to do is morph in and blend in like every other profile on there. You will not stand out. Okay, now the more critical thing. Okay, now just actually 1 second, Rebecca. What time can I talk till?
You can have until 11:55. So maybe another 10
15
minutes or so. 10 minutes, just a little time for some questions.
Okay, right, perfect. Now, moving into how do we drive people to our profile? So you can draw traffic from outside of LinkedIn. You can draw traffic from inside of LinkedIn. Now, outside of LinkedIn, if I give you an example, when I set up my business now back in 2006, I had a wonderful website. Okay, I thought I was amazing. I thought if people talked to me and found me, they would buy my service. Okay, they would use me. Okay, again, my problem at my website was it wasn't quite 50, but it was down the Google search. Nobody was going to find my website. In fact, when I looked at my Google Analytics, I was getting about between 0 and 5 clicks a day on my site, which was very, very poor. So I said to myself, right, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to wait until I become more visible online, or am I going to take a positive step? So what I said to myself at the time, job sites in Ireland, every job seeker in Ireland was on a job site. So they had articles, they had e-zines. So I rang up a couple and I said, hey, I've got all of this great information. I'd love to share it with your audience. And they said, no problem, we'd love your content. So one site, Recruit Ireland, once a month, they would send out an email, an e-zine. I would write an article. So people would get this, they would read an article about me. At the end was a link to my website. They would click on the link and come to my site. So I moved from flatlining all month at about 5 clicks to over 3 or 4 days after that e-zine was sent out, getting about 4,000 or 5,000 clicks on my website, okay, which was phenomenal, okay? So the point that I'm making is that then translated into opportunities for me. Those people found me, they were able to buy me. Okay. Now, similarly, you can use your LinkedIn URL as a tool to drive people to your LinkedIn profile. Even something as simple as putting it on the signature of your email, your private email or your work email. Okay, so that means every time you send an email, you are potentially driving people to your LinkedIn profile. Okay, but you can use it if you're on sort of forums or sites and you're making a comment, you can put a link to your LinkedIn profile. So if you're putting up stuff that you want to be found about, people can read this and go, oh my God, this is amazing. Click, follow your link and come to your LinkedIn profile. Okay, so that's one way where you can draw traffic from outside of LinkedIn. Now, within LinkedIn, okay, there are a number of ways as well too that you need to be active. Okay, now the most obvious one is to like, to comment, and to post. Now, when I talk to people, okay, liking, that's not scary. Commenting, a little bit more scary. Posting, oh my God, no way, that's too scary. Okay, so a lot of people don't post. In terms of value, the posting is probably the best, followed by the comments, followed by the likes. Every time you take an action on LinkedIn, there is a reaction. Okay, so now I don't want to sort of like go across onto LinkedIn like again here now, but I could show you some of my posts. I shared one yesterday where I only had 25 likes, 3 reposts, and maybe about 6 comments, but there was 2,500 impressions. What that means is 2,500 people viewed that post. Okay, now my point is that is not just my network, direct network. That is my second connections, third connections. People that I don't know are being drawn to me. Now, that would not have happened had I not have put that post up. Okay, so it's critical for you to start being a little bit active. Now, posting is scary. Okay, what do I write? Okay, now we can cheat here. Okay, so you can share other people's posts and put a little comment. Okay, amazing article by such and such, particularly this paragraph. You can, organizations that you follow, people that you follow. Okay, again, you can share their content. Commenting, there's low-hanging fruit here. Okay, so quite often it pops up, people sharing a work anniversary, people sharing even a birthday and things like that. They're low-hanging fruit where you get into the habit now of you make that little bit of effort of commenting. Okay, say, oh my God, congratulations on the work anniversary. Because when you comment, people read and look to see who comments. When they see your comment, they scroll over your picture, your little sort of like headline pops up, and they may then follow and come into your LinkedIn profile. Okay, similarly with liking. Okay, so what I say, what will help you here, a point I didn't say earlier on is most people only think about networking when they need something. Okay, most people only think about networking. And my statement is networking is for life, not just for Christmas. Okay, we all have people in our phone. When the name pops up on the phone, you think to yourself, what do they want now? Because every time they reach out, they want something. Okay, now that's not what you want to be perceived for. So if you are active consistently, now it doesn't have to be huge amount of activity, but if you're active and you're consistent, okay, that sort of like means when it comes to the time that you do need something or you are asking for advice and stuff like that there, that it's less awkward. Okay, so your activity. So I say to people, set yourself a target, set yourself a weekly target. Okay, and that could be something as simple as 1 post a week or resharing, 2 comments a day, and maybe 4 likes a day. So if anyone says to me who's actively and aggressively sort of looking for things, if they say, well, I don't have time to make 1 post, 2 comments and 4 likes, 1 post a week, like 10 comments if we add them all up and 20 likes, that would probably take you 20 minutes of your time.
Okay, 30 minutes max. Okay, so it's not a huge investment. When you split it over the 5 days, we break it into little smaller bite-sized chunks. But if you get into the daily habit of doing that, you are being more consistent online. Okay, you're not coming alive when you need something and then going sort of like off the radar until you need something again. Okay. Another thing is obviously they've set up an alumni network, which is a group. Okay, so, you know, that's a little microcosm within LinkedIn. Again, you can be active within there. They're your peers within this group. The other thing I'll say too is, they love me for saying this, is, you know, take an active role within the group. You know, I've always said I can network, I can talk. Okay, I don't particularly like real world networking. Okay, it's just not me. But what I do instead is, if somebody's saying, "Oh, you coming to this networking event?" I'll offer to talk at the event. So at least when I go back down onto the floor, everyone knows me, everyone's coming up to me. It's, you know, it's a little bit more natural. So similarly, if you're joining sort of the alumni network, you know, I'm sure they'll be sharing roles and stuff. Take an active role, because then everyone knows you. Okay, you become visible a lot quicker. Okay. The other thing you can do is follow organizations and people, influential people within your field. Now, the secret here is you have got to engage with them. Okay, so this is a little sort of trick about growing your network with strangers and important people. Okay, so particularly with other people, if you know, you don't have to invite them to connect. Okay, so I'll jump to this. Actually, sorry, it's the next point down here. You'll say about growing your network. Like, people are obsessed with becoming 500 plus connections superheroes. Okay, so they connect to every single person and invite strangers to connect and stuff like that. You know, so people will give you different advice in that. I am more quality over quantity. I would rather you have 100, 200, you know, warm, strong connections, okay, than, you know, add 300 people that you don't know. Okay, I'm not saying that these things can't lead to opportunities, but what it often does is it dilutes. There isn't a trust with that person you've just connected online, so the likelihood is they're not going to open up their black book. Okay, so if we go back to the previous point, if you follow people, if you start to engage with their posts, people love when you like and comment on their posts. They love it and they read it, they see it. So if you're showing up in my life a couple of times and then all of a sudden one day you send me a little direct message, I know who you are. Okay, I'll more likely engage with you rather than some random person sent me a message, you know, out of the blue that I don't know. You know, because too many people are doing this, you know, reaching out to strangers, cold calling. Okay, so it's something to also consider, as well as being active. You can follow groups and organizations and interact and engage. So you build up, I think the term is social credit. You build up social credit. So when you do reach out, you have a little bit of sort of credit in the bank, and that's why these people will engage with you. The other thing then is direct messages, DMs. So, you know, connecting with all of these people and being active, that means you're staying on the radar. But I think, again, to build into your, and I do as I say, not as I do, you know, this is time consuming. I don't always do it myself. Where you actively, you know, each week you send out a little hello, how are you doing to people. You don't need anything, but you're just connecting with people, okay, in your network. And again, this, you know, when you're connecting with me, when you don't need something, it's easier for you to connect with me and reach out when you do need something. Okay, so that's another little activity that you can do as well too. You know, to you know, increase sort of, you know, traffic. The other thing as well too is, quite often, you know, when you reach out to someone you haven't spoke to before, sometimes they come back into your profile again, and you could have in 2 years changed as a person, changed as what you're doing, what you've done, what you've delivered. So it keeps people updated about what you've been doing since, which again could potentially lead to opportunities. Okay, so I mentioned growing your network. Now, I mentioned this point earlier on, right? LinkedIn is beautiful, okay? It's a great tool. But you shouldn't spend your whole time in the clouds. Real connections and real sort of like trust and real relationships are still built in the real world. Okay, so it's still important to bring it, from online, even if it's a Zoom, even if it's a call, even if it's a face-to-face, it's still important to be getting out in the real world and meeting and greeting. So if you still have, it's too easy to stay online all the time. If there still are opportunities to go to formal events like conferences and things like that, you should be still taking up those opportunities. Okay. And again, when you're out in the real world meeting people, don't forget that you're connecting with them online. Okay. When you're going to these events as well, too, that could be something that you post. I'm going to such and such a conference next month. Anyone going, please reach out. I'd love to meet up and catch up for a coffee. So it's all intertwined. Even though when I educate people about networking, I talk about online LinkedIn, I talk about real world, but it's easy for me to compartmentalize them, but they essentially are the same thing. Now, last but not least, okay, so a few little sort of like tips about networking in general. Warm leads. Like people are too afraid to reach out to strangers. People are too awkward to reach out to strangers. Strangers, it's great to network and grow your network, but it takes time, so if you have an urgent need, like a job, you connect with a stranger, it's unlikely they will refer you into their network for some time until they build up trust. Okay, I had an example of that the other day where someone introduced me to somebody at a game. It's about scrimmaging basketball. They say, can you put them in, hook them up for a game? It's not my game. I don't know the person. Do you know what I mean? I'm only new there myself. So, there's that reluctance. What if they come? What if something happens? It's the same in the real world with would if I meet you today, would I open up my network? No. I'd have to build that little bit of time and trust. So focus on your warm leads. And remember the point I said earlier on. If you only have 100 warm people, they all know 100 people. Okay, that's 10,000 people. That's enough networking for about 2 years, never mind 1 year. Okay, and there are huge amount of opportunities within those 10,000 people. Never assume, this is a biggie. Okay, so most people, when they go to network, they focus in probably, let's say you have 100 people. We use the 80-20 rule. They'll focus on 20 people. These are the only people that are going to help me because these are the key people relevant to what I do. But here's a statement I tell you. Okay, you say to yourself, when you're only focusing on the 20 people and you're sort of pushing the other 80 people to the side, tell yourself this: I don't know the 100 people they know. So your friend might not be in your profession, in your field, in your area of expertise, but they may know people in that, important people in that area of expertise. So if you're not going to engage with someone or attend an event or something like that, say to yourself, those people there, I don't know the 100 people they know. The 100 people they know are the people that could be useful to you. Okay, staying on the radar. Okay, and again, that's where LinkedIn is such a valuable tool. If you're active and if you're posting, if you're commenting and stuff like that, if you're engaging in your alumni group and stuff like that there, you are staying in the minds of people. The opportunities mightn't be here today. The opportunity could be there in 3 months' time. Okay, I don't doubt. Why am I talking here today? You can ask Angela that. Is it that my beautiful face popped up on LinkedIn? I don't know. She reached out to me, says, Paul, we're doing this event. I'd love you to talk. Okay. So was it that my face popped up? Oh my God, that's who I should ask there. Okay. And last but not least, okay, I'm not doing too bad in my time. Last but not least, okay, be the Mother Teresa. Okay. When you're going out networking, it is all about you, but it cannot be perceived that it is all about you. So you go out into the world with the attitude of, I am going to help people. Okay, you get back what you give out. And I have a million stories of this where I have been really helpful to people setting up and starting out. Competitors of mine, believe it. I helped them. I really helped them, and they were shocked how much I helped them. And you know what? I didn't do it to get something back, but if I told you some of the business and opportunities I got back as a result of helping them, you would say to yourself, that was the best thing you've ever done in your life. Okay, so it's about you. Okay, but you go out, and if you go out with the attitude, I'm going to engage, I'm going to try to help people and stuff like that there, connect and stuff like that there, you will get back what you give out. How did I do? Time? Perfect.
Yeah, brilliant, Paul, considering the tech issues as well. So yeah, you should add problem solving to your LinkedIn CV there. we can definitely endorse that activity.